Hello, hello. Welcome to the Sikh Community Podcast. My name is Joshua Nelson. I like to talk about dating, how people meet people, and building community. 30-year-old virgin. 30-year-old virgin, guys. How did I get here? What happened? What led up to me being a virgin? I've never had sex with a girl. I've never seen a girl naked. I've never touched a girl's naked body. I have, done other things with girls. I've kissed girls before and all that. But by the grace of God, I've never went that far with a girl because I truly just wanted to obey the Lord. And that's honestly all that this comes down to. It's really not that deep. It's sheer obedience. There was a time in my life when I was maybe 16, 17, and someone told me to save myself for marriage. And then I had a point of reference for what the Christian life is like because it was something so primal or carnal that I had to give up in order to be Christian. Because it's like if someone says, "Hey, don't steal, don't kill," those are pretty no brainers, right? I mean, a non-Christian would subscribe to that mentality, but to tell somebody to give up sex until marriage, that's a different ball game. That is a true manifestation of someone's heart posture towards the Lord. And there are even a lot of Christians who are just having sex outside of marriage too, or self-proclaimed Christian. It's very hard to not have sex. It's again, a natural instinct, is biological. You get horny, you have all these fleshly desires and these images flashed at you. You got people throwing themselves at you, especially for men. It's definitely tough for us. It's tough for men for sure. Girls, they are the suppliers of sex. So also too, they crave it, but I can really only speak for men. We are designed to really just go around and impregnate everybody because we produce semen so many times throughout the day. Whereas girls, they get pregnant for 9 months, so they have to be selective in who they choose. Even though girls can sleep around, is birth control and all that, but generally girls are more selective. Guys, we can sleep around indiscriminately. So when someone tells you to save yourself for marriage, save yourself for marriage, that's tough. And that to me was a true manifestation of my walk with Christ because it's a fleshly desire that I had to give up out of sheer obedience for the Lord. Because the Bible does say when two people come together, they become one flesh. Um, and when you do have sex with somebody, I do want to be one with my wife. I've always wanted, I think that's what God designed it to be. That is what God designed it to be. It's not what I think. And that's why I was obedient because I know the Lord, He designed us for a reason, for us to do things for a reason, to generate life, that's for sure. And the pleasures behind it too. I do know if I were to just be sleeping around with girls indiscriminately, I would be a totally different person. I mean, my mindset would just be different. I do credit the Lord for his blessings in my life. And I think because I was so focused and I wasn't so driven towards chasing sex that I was able to accomplish a lot. And that was because of the Lord truly blessing me and providing. So in a way, he was saving me from my own self-destruction. And also, too, the Bible says, talks a lot about sexual immorality. Um, don't be sexually immoral and to flee from sexual immorality. It talks about that. So the Bible's very clear about having sex outside of marriage. When one have sex, they commit to sin against their own body. That's the scripture, as opposed to outside of the body. So I'm sure you all know this. That's kind of Christian 101. But to actually do it is one thing. And I mean, look at me. I'm a handsome guy myself. So I've had some offers to lose my virginity. So it's definitely been tough. I mean, if you ugly, you probably ain't got a problem, right? You probably ain't got a problem being a virgin. But I'm a good looking guy. I know that. I don't mean to be cocky, but I'm just saying. But nah, on a serious note, I just felt compelled to talk about this because I'm sure there's a man out there or a young boy who's practicing and abstaining from sexual immorality like I am, and people who are virgins, or just people who may be carrying shame from having a lot of sex. And I just want to tell you, there is redemption. It's really all about how you use it. We all have a story to tell. We all have to be vessels for the ministry, for the gospel in some sense. We have to be vessels. So, 30-year-old version, what happened? Honestly, sheer obedience. I was told to save myself a marriage, and that got me thinking a lot about, how far should you go with a girl? Um, uh, what boundaries do I have to set? What should I look for in a date? And this is also has been able to help me craft who I am looking for in a wife. And I've been thinking a lot about this recently because I don't think anything that happens to us in our Christian walk is arbitrary. I think everything God does is intentional and by design. There was a reason why I'm a virgin at 30 years old. There's a reason why He had put me on this path. And it's not to brag about being a virgin. It's not a badge of honor. It's not a performance. It's really to illustrate His glory and to uh, use me as a vessel for His good works and His greatness and His glory and His blessings. And I didn't realize this until recently. I was very apprehensive in talking about my um, sexual past or lack thereof. I didn't want to talk about it because, again, I was always like, just real iffy about it. I mean, it's sometimes the whole purity culture in the Christian community can be cringe sometimes. It can be a little excessive and a little overdone. Um, so I'm just like, yo, mm, I don't know about this for a while. And that shut me out. That shut me out from actually delving into community and from really getting close to people because in a sense it was like a paradox. Like, yeah, here I am, a Christian, I love the Lord, I love being around community, but I wasn't truly fully immersing myself into what God had to offer because I just never tapped into what my spiritual gifts could be and what the Lord may have in store for me, um, in terms of my spiritual journey. I just shut that part completely out of my life for some reason, and I focus solely on career and sort of in worldly stuff. But I am a warrior now in this effort to spread the gospel because I really found something that I'm passionate in talking about, and that's, for one, how to navigate sexuality as a Christian. What is masculinity? And how do you maximize your season of singleness? Because I have been single for all this time. That's partly why I've a virgin, is because I've been single. I haven't had a girlfriend. It's less temptation. When you don't have a cute girl on you, is least likely to have sex. Then, I've also went through this deep downward spiral into watching pornography. And that's also what I'm passionate in talking about, and getting people in general hooked off of pornography. And it's the culture. We're also inundated with porn, and it's not even just the actual porn that we're associated with, like Pornhub, X videos. You got just pornographic images being flashed at you on TV commercials, and you go to the gym, the way girls are dressing with these leggings, they got the stitching up the butt crack. And it's just very like in your face. Look, you can wear whatever you want to wear. I'm not trying to shame anybody. My whole standpoint on that has always been people will sexualize anything. So you'll have girls in nun outfits and men will sexualize it, vice versa. It's all about heart posture. Lust is lust. People will sexualize anything. They got porn for cartoons, right? So you got guys that's masturbating to cartoons. So I don't really buy the whole girls need to police their bodies in order to not tempt men. Now, if you're walking around naked, if you're very like blunt about your sexuality, then you maybe need to tone it down a bit. But in general, men have to control their urges and stop blaming um, women for what they wear, because it's really about us and taming our own lustful passions. And that's why I'm very passionate in this conversation and what I want to talk about. So that comes to circles back to just everything God has done in my life is very intentional. So that's why when I'm looking for a wife, I do want someone who's going to add to my ministry and to talk about these things. So yes, Christian sexuality, masculinity, the season of singleness, and I do want to talk about marriage at a certain point. So I'm not married, so I can't talk about that. Um, but when I have a wife, I'll definitely be able to talk about those things. And I'll have to be able to assess when I'm dating someone, is she the right person for God's purpose in my life? Is she going to be the right person for that? She'll be that feminine element to fill that hole of what I'm talking about. Because for me, I can reach men, but I want her to be someone who can reach women. But also, she can reach men too. But it's just good to have that combo to serve both sides. So what I'm looking for in a woman, see, I wrote some notes down. Um, I just want my union when I get married to be able to point people to Jesus. And I don't want it to solely be someone who just checks the boxes. She's cute, Christian, wants to be a traditional housewife. It's got to be more than that. It's got to be something that's very intentional and purposeful and who can help drive me. Um, and I've been thinking a lot about this too. Do I care about body count? Because I am a virgin. And in a sense, I do, but it's kind of tricky because I don't want to judge. I mean, those without sin should cast the first stone. The Bible's very clear about that. Um, but there's also very primal concerns about a girl's sexual past. When I say primal, I mean I'm just men weren't naturally disgusted by a woman's high body count because it is hard for us to ensure paternity. Um, because back in the day we didn't have the technology to make sure that the baby was ours. So a girl that slept around a lot, it just freaked us out. Now we got the technology, you can find out who the father is, but back in the day, you couldn't. So all that hardwiring has still kept up with the male race. And we still have that primal instinct to where we are very territorial with our women. So we don't like the idea of sharing our woman sexually with other men. That's why we value purity and chastity in women. Um, so yes, in that sense, I do hold that. So if she got a body count over 10, that's an automatic L. If she had a threesome, if I found out, automatic L. I just can't reconcile in my head dating a girl who has slept with that many people. If you talking about 6, 7, 8, 9, that's dangerous territory, to be honest with you, for me. I guess to me, in general, it depends on how radical she is for the Lord and how much of a fit she is for my calling in my life. Because again, if she does have a sexual past, then she can speak on that and she can talk about her transformation and how she is pursuing her calling in spite of her past. Why did you turn away from that lifestyle and turn to Jesus? Because that could be an effective ministry for people. So that's a huge factor. She can't be a lukewarm Christian with that body count and with that sexual past. And she can't, I couldn't, because, it's just for me, not for me. That's just not for me. But I would say ideally, I would want a virgin, to be real with you. We value purity, we value chastity. I have to be careful though with how I use certain language because I don't want to shame people in general for their body count. But it's facts are facts. Nature is nature. Men are the way they are. We value purity and chastity. Um, for women, it's different though. I think they do value experience, sexual experience. They want a man who can lead. And most men, to be real with you, who are virgins are awkward or creepy or just feminine, nerds, geeks, and they're virgins for a reason. It's not really by choice that they're virgins. They just can't get laid because they're like super awkward and creepy around women and socially awkward. So women tend to generally, value sexual experience in men because they just value a wise, experienced man in general. But I'm sure, yes, I'm sure women will tell you, I want my guy to be a virgin too. I'm sure you will have people out there that'll say that. So whatever. But yeah, I don't want to get too caught in the weeds in that. But yes, I do want my union when I get married. I want us to point people to Jesus. And I want to have these conversations about navigating singleness as a Christian, um, sexuality as a Christian, and defining masculinity. Because I do think the apex of masculinity is Jesus. Jesus was single and he was thriving. He came here with a mission. And he came here with a passion. And he wasn't ever shaken or he never sinned. He was always prayerful. He spent a lot of time alone in silence. He was a leader. He fostered peace. And he also flipped the tables when he needed to. Jesus was definitely, he is the uh, beacon of masculinity for sure. But I don't think most people in our world would associate Jesus with masculinity. He kind of gets this fairy tale, especially the worldly um, uh, characterization of Jesus is very like kind of a fairy, grants wishes, um, you know, very soft spoken guy. I just don't see that the true depiction of Jesus isn't what is depicted in the Bible. The world obviously is going to distort and pervert everything. So you can't go to the world for information and for answers about the Bible or Jesus. That's why we have Christians on this earth to preach the gospel and to tell people what exactly they're missing out on and what the truth is. And Jesus is coming back with fire. He's coming back with fire, and he's going to um, build a new heaven and a new earth. And that's when Judgment Day comes. And a lot of young men, they need to get that answer of what true masculinity is. They need to see that. And I want to be one of those people who can point people to Jesus, point young men to Jesus, so they can not be discouraged from wanting to wait till marriage to have sex, and they can have stronger will to fight against temptation, and they can really dig down and get build up their prayer life, because people are going to tell them, bro, there's a girl all over you. You need to go hit that. Bro, she cute. Why ain't you talking to her? Oh, you gay because you ain't doing this. I've heard it all before. And that's why I think the Lord has put me through what I went through, so that me and my wife, we can have these conversations and we can reclaim sexuality for the kingdom and how God designed it. And he designed it to produce life, not for merely pleasure and objectification like what's depicted in porn. Not that. And also, too, guarding the heart, allowing for God to direct everything we do in our life. In the Bible, it's a proverb. I forget the specific number, but above all else, guard your heart because everything you do flows from it. King Solomon said that. And that has always stuck to me, that scripture, the whole wisdom in guarding the heart. Because in a lot of ways, I didn't guard my heart. I fell into porn, chased career and prestige and status. And I didn't really truly allow God to shape my identity and my life. And that's why I was so um, hesitant to truly pursue my calling that God put on my life and my purpose. That's why I never really liked talk about my spiritual journey, was because my identity wasn't that. My identity was what the world was telling me it should be. So that's why I really like having that conversation about guarding the heart, because everything we do flow from it. So we allow God to direct our life when we do that. Um, and even sex, relationships, and marriage can become an idol. So a lot of people, they follow those things, those three things, and they end up with relationships with people they don't even like. They have nothing in common with, that aren't good for them. And then they build soul ties with these people. And there's actually a bonding chemical, oxytocin. You actually get bonded with people you have physical intimacy with. So, yes, the zenith, the pinnacle of this is sex, because the Bible says two will become one flesh when they have sex. But also when you cuddle with people, when you kissing and rubbing on each other, you sleeping, spending the night together in the same bed, all of that is you're building a bond with somebody. So your heart can be very deceitful. Your heart can tell you that this person is the right one for you when they're not. That's why you have to guard your heart. You have to set boundaries and physical boundaries with people you end up dating, or just form these connections with, because some people can truly hurt you in the long run if you don't um, tune your ear spiritually to what they're saying and what they're doing. I really like what Pastor Mark Driscoll says about guarding the heart. He says, um, don't give away your heart too quickly. You want to be careful with who you're physically intimate with, so you can discern if you're really compatible with somebody or not. And he talks about just in general, just like work. You don't want, people forming business deals with people without testing them. You got to test whoever you are in a relationship with, or you may get in a relationship with, any prospect, because people will fail you. Man will fail you, but God would never fail you. That's why you got to lean on God instead of your own heart's desires, because your heart will deceive you and you will fail yourself by following your heart's desires. So you have to guard it and let God flow through you. So I'm excited. But yes, I'm dating right now, and dating is tough. Dating is I just moved to a new city. I'm back in my hometown. I just left Nashville. I was in Nashville for 3 years, gave it a shot. Wasn't for me. Decided to move back home. So back home, and got to start all over, build community. So it's just been tough, man. It's been very lonely for sure. Very isolating in my apartment, living alone with no friends yet, not much community. So we'll see. I'm not getting on the dating apps. I'm done. I'm done online dating. It's just too contrived and too shallow. It's just a whole swipe left, swipe right. I'm just over it. Like the last girl I dated, we we met online, and she was talking about she this big Christian, and then it just turned out to be a dud. To be real with you, it just didn't work out. Um, and it's just, for me, I'm like, I just want to meet somebody in the church, or yeah, meet somebody in the church. Maybe I'm volunteering or serving in some capacity, and then something happens, where you can sort of have that natural, starting off, that natural connection. We're already in the same facility, right? So got to be something here. But yeah, yes. Well, I'm looking for in a wife is she's going to be somebody who can add to what I'm doing and to add to the conversations that I'm passionate about having. And I'm really excited for what the Lord has in store. And I'm excited to meet my wife. And I know in the meantime, I have to be strong, and I have to stick to prayer and church and studying the word, so I can be prepared to lead a family someday. And for you too. We're in this together. If you're watching this and you're in the same predicament I am, we got to stay strong, because we can easily get tempted and lose focus, and it can be it could easily go off the rails. That's for sure, especially as men with all that testosterone. Um, so yeah, uh, like, subscribe. Thank you for listening. Um, I'm definitely going to be back with another episode. This is episode 9. Next episode is going to be the 10th episode. It's going to be a good one. And thank you guys for listening. All right. Bye.